In the last episode, we learned how to do a ghostly special effect. And in this episode, we're going to add some fake camera movements with keyframes. Coming at you right after this.
Meejah.
Hello, and welcome to the Meejah channel. I'm your host, William Hugh. Yeah, still there. Well, you may remember that in the last Halloween-inspired episode, we did a rather nifty ghost leaving the dead body effect. And if you missed that episode, you can find it here. And I also promised that in this episode, I would show you how to add some fake camera movements via the gift of keyframes. Well, I'm nothing if not a man of my word. So, here it is. Open Sony Vegas Pro and drag in the ghosty footage we rendered in the last episode. And we're going to add some fake camera movements via the gift of keyframes. To access keyframes, you need to click on the Event Pan Crop Tool icon, which you will find on the video clip here. Click on it and the Pan Crop tool opens like this. Now you'll notice two timelines here, but it is the top line that we are interested in today. The bottom line is for keyframing masking, which is a subject for a different video. For panning, cropping and screen movement, it's the top line we need. Now the first thing we need to do is make sure that the cursor sync, this button here, is on. And what this means is that the position of the cursor on the main timeline here will be echoed by the cursor on the keyframe timeline, and vice versa, which saves a lot of confusion. So, what are keyframes? Well, they're just positions we set up on this timeline to record the state of the screen at that point. I'll just click on the background here and use my mouse wheel to zoom out a bit to show you what I mean. Now this box, defined by these little squares, shows you what is happening on the screen here. So, if I make the box bigger like this, the box shows the screen and the surrounding space here, which shows on the screen as black. If I do it the other way, so that the box will only encompass a bit of the screen, then that's what we see in the monitor. And if I move the box about a bit, then whatever it covers is what is shown on the screen. And by moving your cursor around the edge until it becomes this turn icon, you can even tilt and spin the screen like this. And if you want to put it back to default, simply choose your default aspect ratio, in this case widescreen, and you're back where you started. Now, what keyframes do is record on this timeline the state of the screen at any particular point. And this is what a keyframe marker looks like. This is the marker for this particular screen state. So, let's move the cursor along a bit and add a keyframe. Now, I can either click here to make a new keyframe, and click here to remove it, or simply by changing the state of the screen, a new keyframe will automatically be created. And whatever state I leave the screen in will be recorded by that keyframe. So the first keyframe holds this screen, and the second keyframe holds this screen. And when you run the edit, you will see that the screen will move from the first screen state to the second one, like this. Once the cursor has hit the last keyframe and goes beyond it, it remains on its last setting. Now here's the good bit. Using this tool allows us to add pretend camera movements to our video. I'll show you how. But first, let me get rid of this keyframe by clicking on it to select it, and then right-clicking and delete. Now you might have noticed that the default keyframe movement is a bit sudden and jerky, which is not very camera-like. But if you click on the keyframe to select it, and then right-click for the menu, here you will be able to choose the style of movement you require. And it's quite good fun to experiment with these. But the one that most resembles camera movement is smooth. And if I select smooth on both these frames, and then run the edit, you can see that the movement looks much more natural. Okay, so let's do a bit of camera movements mimicking. So for my first keyframe, I'm going to start slightly pulled in like this. And I'd like it to stay there until the ghost starts to lift himself up. And at this point, I'm going to add a Now, because the state of the screen is the same in both these keyframes, This ensures that there will be no camera movement as it moves between these 2 points. From the second keyframe, I want the camera to follow the actor as he sits up, to this point here. So here I will add a new keyframe, and then I'll move the screen to follow the actor. And I might zoom it in slightly as well. I now want the camera to stay exactly where it is until this point, just where he is going to stand up. And I'll add another keyframe here, which, because it is the same parameters as the preceding one, means again there will be no movement between those 2 points. But from this point, I want the camera to appear to pull back, and to continue to do so until the actor appears to walk through the camera, here. So I add another keyframe at this point and make this full screen by going to the default widescreen setting here. Now when played, this will look like the camera is pulling back with the actor. Now as I'm trying to simulate camera movement, I'm going to click on each keyframe and make sure that smooth is selected like this. So that's it, the keyframes are all done. All that's required now is to add the establishing shot and some music, render to video, and this is what you get. So there you have it, the horror effect completed just in time for Halloween. Well, no doubt you have to go and get ready to battle some zombies or something now, so I'll push off. But before I do, if you like this episode, then a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. And if you haven't already done so, then why not hit the subscriber thingy? Because that way, I'll see you here next time and every time on the Meejah channel. Hello and welcome to the Meejah channel. I'm your host, William Hugh. Now and if you haven't already done so, why not hit the subscriber thingy? Because that way I'll see you here next time and every time on Meejah. I'll see you next time on over there. And the Meejah.